What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Mana today, Decentraland. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want more content like this. Shout out to BBL. I'm sure you requested this one. If not, this one's for you nonetheless. Here we are sitting at about 47.8 cents at the top of this range here, right? It definitely does seem like we are getting ready to break out of this overall kind of consolidation range, this accumulation range that we've been in since, well, late 2022. It's been about 2 years, just over 2 years now that we've been in this range. Looking to break out of it. We take a low here to a high in the fibs. You can see that you pulled down to your 0.5. Oftentimes you don't find support at the 0.5. You either find support at the 382 or the 618, but oftentimes it's not the 0.5. Sometimes you do though, and what would really solidify this as a low is to get prices to close above the 236. What would not solidify it as a low, I mean, obviously it would just be to get it to go lower. I guess we could measure that. I'll go over that in a second, but 61.87 cents is the target we're looking for. The next target we're looking for, you're at 47.8 cents now, so a little bit higher to confirm this low here as the low. You move up here, likely what that means is if you get that confirmation, you'll probably see an immediate move that does take you above these highs, and you have an overall larger move that retraces from your last cycle's high to lows there. So if you don't go higher and instead you go lower, the invalidation for that, what you would look for is a move probably below the 886 of this low to high here. Something that would take you, yeah, probably I'd say 43.36 cents. If you close below that on any given day, that is not a valid low, and likely you won't stop until you hit the golden ratio, which is at about 37 cents, just below 37 cents there, if not even lower than that. So keep that in mind. I don't think that we go lower. I do think that we go higher. And really, if you look at this chart for what it is, it kind of looks like you have this, it's like a broadening wedge at the bottom, megaphone pattern. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, man. I think this could be a megaphone pattern. Megaphones tend to have like 5, right? So like if you came down, you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And maybe it starts here, so then maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, but if that's 5, then you'd break out. If this is 4, then you might come up here, pull back, and then break out, right? Have what they call a partial decline is what we'd look for. But nevertheless, it would be something of like a higher high here. So let's call for that. Let's call for that. You're at 47.8 cents now. I believe Mana is on its way up to about 60 cents, probably, if not higher. Likely, actually, it probably goes up to about like 65, 66 cents, if not somewhere between there and 60 cents. You're probably going to make that move up by the end of this week, if not sometime early next week, you'll be there. And then going into the end of the month, I would suspect that you are reaching for your current cycle highs, and then going into February, exceeding past that, right? So you're at 47.8 cents now. I suppose the call that I'm trying to make would be that I expect Mana to be at $1.04 to $1.33, if not more, sometime in February. Likely by the middle of February is what my kind of anticipation, my expectation would be, something like that. You really could. Mana does like it's 1.886 too. That's something, $1.62. I know it sounds crazy, man, but let's see if we can make sense out of this real quick. I want to just see. I mean, that's not too crazy. It's a little bit crazy, but this is about average. All this stuff here, that $1.04 to $1.34, that's about average expectations for what I think the average coin is going to do over this next month and a half. So going up a little bit above that wouldn't be crazy. Mana does like it's 1.886, and we're going to make sense out of that in a second. I want to go through and show you a couple of examples of Mana bouncing off its 1.886. So from a low here to a high there. This time it was its 2272, to be completely fair. So that's not a good example. But I was just kind of taking a random shot in the dark there. Most of the time, or these random shots, they tend to work out pretty well with Mana. Let's see, this low to high here, this crux, I bet we found support at the 1.886 at the low of this move here. Right? Literally, boom, perfect. Can't make it up right there. Beautiful, right? You see it? Right? And I just found this significant, it wasn't random, I want to say random, but I think it's obvious this is a consolidation phase here. That was the low to high of the consolidation phase. So with that, you bottomed at the 1.886, and look at the reaction you had, right? Just showing the significance there. If we took the relative low to high here, I just wonder. Nope, you did not find significance at the 1.886 there. Maybe this relative low to high, or high to low here. No significance there as resistance, but as support, you did find it as support, to be completely fair, so that is a little bit of significance. If we look at this low to high here, I'm going to stop doing this, I promise you guys. We'll move on to the next part in just a second, okay? This low to high, you did not find support on the 1886. Kind of around there, but the 2272, if anything, that 2272 is looking more frisky in my opinion, right? But I swear the 1886 does come into play more often than I'm making it out to be. Maybe we should look at a weekly time frame. Longer term here, right? You go from this high here to this low. You topped off where? At the 1886. You get that low to high there, right? Of course, it's the 1886. We take this high here, and we go to this low over here. You topped off where? At the 1886 200 area. So I'm just saying it does like it's 1886. All I'm trying to say by that, all we're trying to determine by that is, could Mana see prices that are as high as $1.60 or more by the end of February? I think it could. I really do think it could. I think it does, actually, right? From a high to a low, my expectation would be that you are in this golden ratio zone at $1.67 to $2.12. So truthfully, I think you're even higher than that, man. Maybe you do go up to your 2272 at 214 by the end of February for Mana. Maybe you do. Let's try and make sense out of that real quick. Okay, so now we're going to look at Mana versus BTC. No. Let's look at it versus others, actually. Mana USD versus others. That's what we're going to do. On Kraken, sure. So for anybody that's not aware of what this chart does, either it goes up, it goes down, right, obviously, but whenever it goes up, Mana is gaining value versus the average altcoin in the market. When it goes down, Mana is losing value versus average altcoin in the market. It doesn't mean if it's going down, that means that all altcoins and Mana are losing value. It doesn't mean if it's going up, all altcoins and Mana are going up, right? You can go up and Mana and altcoins are losing value versus the dollar, but Mana is just losing value slower. You can go down and they're both gaining value versus the dollar, but Mana is just gaining value slower. Does that make sense? So here we are at the base of this range. Seems like we're rounded out. Seems like we're ready for a move up. So likely I could see Mana outperforming the rest of the market from here for sure. I definitely could see that happening. Let's see. From a low to a high, what are you at? You're 886, 786. Beautiful. Crazy, wicked volatility there. But I think that you will go higher. I think that you do progress higher. Let's see if we can go from a daily time frame. Let's just look real quick. Nope, RSI ain't going to help us out there. Let's look from a high to a low real quick. If you were to go higher than this high, and I suspect you do, you would grow, you'd be like 66% more valuable than you are now versus the average coin. So if the average coin moved up 100%, you'd be worth like 166%. Does that make sense? So if Mana, I'm not going to do this next part because I already know the numbers, but others, the average altcoin, I'm expecting them to move up anything from like 90% to 150%, 180% at the most for the average altcoin by the end of February. Mana versus others looks like it wants to move up 66%. So, I mean, at a minimum, 90% to 66, that'd put Mana's minimum at about 150% from its current price, okay? Which that would mean that its minimum is right basically there at about $1.70. Okay, so like right there at $1.17. Okay, and if it's any more than this too, it could be more than this. You never know. But if it's 66% instead of based off of 90%, if you base it off of 150%, that'd put us at 210%, and 210 would line up with $1.50. So this would suggest then that Mana does gain more value versus others than just 60%. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I want to look at Mana real quick versus BTC, and then we'll end the video, okay? Just to see if that confirms. Looks strong. Looks like it wants to move up, yeah. Definitely looks weak overall, but it looks strong where it is now. I think it is going to move up more, yeah. Yeah. Yep, 3-day looks great, weekly looks great, all that looks great. So where are you going to move up by the end of February? You're going to gain value versus Bitcoin at a percentage rate of like 111% or more. 111%. Bitcoin's at 90 I could see that. Yeah, it could be worth even more than that, man. I think 160% or more versus Bitcoin is what I would expect to see personally. Like some kind of move, ferocious like this move, but going up higher, right? Yeah. something up and around these highs, something that's probably like 170, 160% to 216% versus Bitcoin, something like that by the end of February. I think Bitcoin now being at 94.5K, by the end of February, it'll be worth at least like about that, which is 53%. So 53% plus that'd be like 207. Okay, so there we go. We're getting somewhere. That makes a little bit more sense to me. Yeah. Right, because 270, does that make sense, mana? Because, no, not that. We're looking at Kraken. High to low. Because we're looking at this zone here. 270 was what it was, right? That's the math that we got out of this. And that'd be 240, 300. 340, 240, something like that. So 270 makes sense. The reason why, does this make sense what I'm doing here, guys, right? Like I'm measuring the percentage here that I expect mana to grow versus Bitcoin, applying that percentage to where I think Bitcoin will be there. So if Bitcoin grows 53%, but mana grows 216% more than Bitcoin, that would mean that it grows 270%, 260 something percent, right? Something like that. And if we put that on the USD chart, that essentially would agree. That'd be right in the middle of this golden ratio zone here, which is exactly where we would expect to go without any other prior knowledge in this video, just from a regular high to low here. When breaking above your 382, you almost always go right to your 618 golden ratio before finding resistance and then going higher, right? So I don't know. That's all I got for you guys. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more content like this. I think it's a great time to buy mana. I definitely would buy some more here if I wasn't already loaded up on it. So that's all I got, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.